My Family by Maggie Bailey of Lillipilly 2229. Narrated by Janine Penfold. She was the daughter of a Jewish family, and her name was Elizabeth. The family were descendants from the Ashkenazi Jews who settled through parts of Europe many centuries before. And her family had lived in the Rhineland in Western Germany for many generations. Her family was educated and prosperous, but the political discontent, an alienation of the Jewish people of the early 1800s, was a worry to her father, and he planned to leave their home. Many people left for France, but Elizabeth's father, Franz, looked to the new world for a new beginning and began plans to move the family to Australia. The family prospered in New South Wales and established the family vineyards in the Hunter Valley. She was the daughter of Elizabeth, and her name was Amy. Intelligent and talented, she wanted to be a violinist. But from a family of 11 children, that did not seem possible when there was a war developing in South Africa. There was no role for women to study, and her brothers needed an education. Amy's husband came from a family from the Isle of Wight, with many generations of Anglo-Saxon heritage, and her German background faded as she took on the role of wife and mother. She became the nucleus of a new family in a changing environment. She was the daughter of Amy, and her name was Dorothy. Quick-witted and intelligent, she often sought out new learning tasks and was a source of great help to her mother. She wanted to be a dressmaker, but the Great Depression had crept over the country, and there was no money for girls to be educated, and everyone needed to work. Amy died when her youngest was 12, and the role of mother and housekeeper fell to Dorothy, with no hope of being a dressmaker. Dorothy's husband came from a family of Welsh immigrants and a much longer history of English ancestors, some of whom were transported to Australia in days gone by. She became the nucleus of a new family with a new generation. She wanted her children to have more. She was the daughter of Dorothy, and her name was Ruth. Born into a working-class family, there did not seem any future for education. However, she excelled at school and was given further opportunities. She wanted to be a doctor and worked hard to support herself at university. She was close to Dorothy and attributed her opportunities and success to her mother, who grew up in a different era with different expectations, but was able to accept her daughter's ambition. She loved hearing the stories of mothers and grandmothers of the past, their dreams, their life stories, and their legacy, for she felt these women had laid the path for her. Ruth loved cooking with her mother and learning the old ways from the mothers and grandmothers from time past. A particular favourite was Elizabeth's babka, a delicious bun with cinnamon and spices. She was the daughter of Ruth, and her name was Ndoto. Tall and elegant, she was proud of her heritage from French and African backgrounds. She spoke her father's languages of French and Swahili, and a few European languages from her time at school in Paris. She studied molecular engineering and excelled in her field as a research scientist. Despite her success in international research projects, she still loved to come to her mother's house and remember the joys of her childhood. She loved to sit at her mother's desk, where she always felt close to Ruth. Her books on science and medicine, family photos and mementos, recipes collected from magazines, friends and aunties, and her mother's journal. She used to read this as a child, enjoying stories from Ruth's day, stories from her patients, sometimes of suffering and sometimes of triumph in the face of illness, snippets of family news or gossip, recipes and ideas. She loved the diversity of her family origins, their heritage and culture, and their traditional foods, which were now everyone's favourites. She wanted to add her father's African cooking to the family favourites. While turning the pages of her journal, she saw the draft of the short story her mother was entering into a local competition on the topic of diversity. My Family, it was called, Ndoto felt a swell of pride that this was family. A family of diverse origins and cultures, but somehow unified by the warmth and nurture as given by the mothers and grandmothers in this family. She was proud of her family. The end.